I wanted to discuss in a few short words an interesting phenomenon that's found in this weekly reading, this week's Parsha, and that is a word that is spelled as one word but is read as two words. It's not a quite common phenomenon, but it happens a few times in the 5 books of Moshe, in the Chumash, and many more times in the rest of the books of Nevi'im and Ketuvim. So in the entire Tanakh, it appears quite a number of times. There is also sometimes the opposite phenomenon, that it's written as two words and appears as one word. And that kind of situation does not appear even once in Chumash, but does appear in Nevi'im and Ketuvim and other parts of the Tanakh a few times. It's a much more rare situation, that the written form is two words but is read as one word. And this leads me to a general question. What does it mean that we have the situation Kri and Ktiv? Two types of forms, what we read and what is written. There are actually a few different situations in the 5 books of Moshe and in the rest of Nevi'im and Ketuvim. One situation is what I just described, that the word is written as one but read as two. We had that when Leah had a son from Zilpah, really, it wasn't her own son, the Zilpah's first son, that Leah called, it says, Bagad Beit Gimel Dalet. But it's read as two words, Ba-Gad, came in God. God may be good mazel. And there's another very famous example at the end of the Torah when it says, before Moshe blesses the Jewish people in the Parshat Vizot HaBracha, it says, Mi'imino Eshdat Lamo. To his right side, it's written as one word, Eshdot or Eshdat, but it's pronounced as two words, Eshdat, which is usually interpreted as fire of religion. So in all of these cases, you have to ask yourself, what does it mean exactly that there is a Kri and a Ktiv? But before I go into this, I want to ask a different question. What are the other types of Kri and Ktiv, in particular in the Chumash? It's quite a rare phenomenon. It's not every Parsha, even not every weekly reading has even one example of Kri and Ktiv. But there are some Parshiot that have a few. So altogether, I don't know how many times there is a Kri and Ktiv. It's certainly possible to count, but it's a few dozen times that this type of situation appears. One example that is not too uncommon is when Kri and Ktiv, the two words, are not similar at all in terms of pronunciation. Not like the examples we just had, where it's written as one or two words, but the pronunciation is very similar. There are examples where it's exactly the opposite. The pronunciation is very different, but the meaning is very similar. In particular, we find that when the Torah wants to predict certain terrible things that will happen to the Jewish people, and uses words that are very, how should I say, there are no really bad words in the ancient Hebrew, in the biblical Hebrew. All the words that have any kind of, like, say, let's say, sexual connotation, they're all changed into euphemisms of sorts. But there are still more and less softer and less soft words. So the Kri and Ktiv in those cases is that the Ktiv is the worse case, I guess, than the Kri. For example, you'll betroth a woman and a different man will sleep with her. Yishkavenu. But the way it's written, Yishgalenu is a stricter word, is a worse word than the softer pronunciation. So here, Kri and Ktiv, the written and the pronounced forms, are synonyms, but one is softer than the other. Then there are situations when Kri and Ktiv seem to be almost identical. It's maybe a yud changed to a vav, or plural to singular, or some other grammatical form. You might even say that anytime the word who is written in the Torah and pronounced as he, you might consider it as Kri and Ktiv. It's usually not treated that way, but the point of the matter is that in the 5 books of Moshe, when it's pronounced he, right, which means she in Hebrew, it's very confusing because the word he in Hebrew means she. But it's written as who, as if it's he in English, meaning masculine. Or very rarely does the Torah uses Hey Yud Aleph, which is he. That means she in feminine. Rather, almost every time it's written as who and pronounced as he. There are only a few exceptions to this rule. And by the way, it's only true in Chumash. In other books, it's almost never done that way. So that's an example where we don't even treat it as Kri and Ktiv, but it is in a sense Kri and Ktiv. It's just that the vowel is put, when it's pronounced as he, the vowel in the word who is put as chirik, and so it's pronounced as he. And there are a lot of examples of that. Mitzvotav, mitzvato, kind of, right? The yud is missing, but it really is pronounced as if it's plural and things like that. Then there are some examples where the word is written but not pronounced, or vice versa. Again, usually it doesn't really change the meaning so much. But for some reason there is a written but not pronounced, and pronounced and not written. By the way, the Talmud speaks about this particular case of Kri and Ktiv in Tractate Nidarim. So, to summarize, there are three main opinions that deal with the issue. The most standard and well-known opinion is that Kri and Ktiv is given as part of the Torah, meaning it's Halacha Moshe Misinai of sorts. And originally, when the Torah was given, for some reason Hashem gave us two types of information in certain rare cases: Kri and Ktiv. That this is how you pronounce it, and this is how it's going to be written. It makes a lot of sense, except that you have to then explain what happened to the books of prophets and the books of writings, the later books, Nevim and Ktuvim. Right? Why would the prophets use similar technique? Could be that they knew what this really means, and therefore they used a similar technique. In a lot of cases, in fact, both Kri and Ktiv make sense. And some commentators, in fact, use both Kri and Ktiv in certain cases, and they explain what each of them means, and a lot of times there's additional meaning that's given by what's Kri and what's Ktiv. Then there is the opinion of Radak and some other Rishonim that say that in certain cases there were manuscripts that differed. And in order to preserve both readings, alternate reading, the sages decided that we'll keep one as the written text and the other as the pronounced text. Then there's a third opinion that it's a kind of correction of sorts. So in a certain sense, the pronunciation is the more standard understanding of the text. In fact, almost all cases of commentary uses the way it's pronounced as the main, as the ikar. And that's why Abarbanel says in case of Yirmiyahu, who was young and wasn't so skilled in the Hebrew language, and sometimes the way he said it wasn't really grammatically accurate, and therefore there is a lot of Kri and Ktiv, says Abarbanel, in Yirmiyahu, much more than in other prophets. Very interesting idea. So this is all I wanted to say for today. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.